Fuck it, we'll have to roll without glasses. Hello, everyone. My name is Tyrell, and today we'll be talking about District 9. So, to start with, yes, I'm not using my camera anymore. I decided I'm going to be camera shy. Anyways, I'll start with the synopsis of District 9. District 9 takes place in a fictional version of South Africa, where an alien mothership arrives in 1982 and hovers over the city of Johannesburg. Now, unlike typical portrayals of aliens, though, the aliens that reside in the ship were malnourished and were lacking any sort of commanding structure amongst themselves, with seemingly no method to control the ship itself. Humanitarian aid was provided for the aliens for refuge and protection, but soon after they were segregated and discriminated by the human population and were put into the slum that is District 9. The film itself takes place 28 years later in 2010, where it uses a sort of documentary style of formatting or filming to recount the events surrounding the main character, Vickers van der Merwe, uh, or Vickers, the eviction of the aliens from District 9 into Sanctuary Park, and his eventual transformation into an alien. Now, Vickers was selected as the commander for the operation responsible for evicting the aliens from District 9. However, during the operation, he came across a piece of alien technology that had sprayed him with mysterious fluid after tampering with it. This fluid caused his body to undergo a sort of physiological change where his DNA was slowly being morphed into that of an alien. And over a course of this transformation, Vickers was forced to learn about the atrocities and inhumane practices the aliens had to go through, and have his life basically crumble to ruins. It's not quite the happy ending. Now, I'd like to start talking about the film's real-world counterpart, its sort of reflection, and what actually inspired this film in the first place. South Africa's apartheid era. Apartheid? Hold on, let's search this up. It was apartheid. Anyways, from 1984, 1948 to 1994, South Africa's governing party, the National Party, had implemented over time a system of laws that had given the governing party the power to lawfully segregate South Africa's population based on race, consolidating power towards the white minority group and discriminating against the rest of the races. Now, throughout this era, the government enacted laws that divided communities up and limited the colored and African people's freedoms, evicting them from their homes into slums, separating families from each other, ensuring they had no control or access to better necessities or faculties unless employed under a white citizen. That's true, by the way. As you can see, based on the illustrations provided here and the synopsis I provided earlier, District 9 is very much a reflection of these events, being almost historically accurate if it were not for our cat food eating alien here. You see, for those who knew about the apartheid era, God, I hope I say that right, apartheid era in South Africa, and what happened there, this film was and is very much an allegory to those events, retold in a more fictional manner to convey something towards the audience. And that something is basically what the film wants you to think about. Its sort of message or theme of sorts. That being the segregation, oppression, and to a broader sense, racism against minority groups and to a lesser extent, refugees. Although the depiction of refugees slash repressed people as primal aliens is, well, distasteful, the film does go through many lengths to highlight the mistreatment and oppression of those either in the minority or are too different from the majority, i.e., the aliens. Although some parts of the film do not reflect the events that unfolded in apartheid South Africa, they do reflect inhumane treatments that many other minority groups or oppressed groups experience throughout the world. A disturbing present day example is the Uyghurs in Xinjiang, China, an ethnic minority group in China native to its land. Although it is to a lesser and perhaps less public extreme, this ethnic minority group is being systematically torn apart and oppressed by China in order to be assimilated and root out any deviance of their society. And while the goals between District 9's government slash company and the Chinese government are different when comparing how they handle their minority group, both practice institutionalized segregation and inhumane treatment to assert their dominance and control on the population. I've left a link down in the description if you want to know more about the Uyghurs and what they're going through right now. Now, while I personally believe that District 9 is basically an allegory film with a political message about institutional segregation and all the atrocities committed against minority groups, but yeah, like no joke, the director of the film literally said it's about segregation. But I do honestly think that this film has a lot more artistic merit to it than one might think at first sight. Now, for example, whether it's by intentional design or for satirical entertainment, the design of the alien creatures in District 9 is actually a surprisingly ingenious method to really depict how an oppressive group or government could view a minority group. By having their victims be literal aliens, it portrays that so long as you view intelligent, sapient people, or aliens in this case, as lesser beings, many people, including ordinary citizens, can develop a sort of subconscious bias towards them, and eventually they'll have a very discriminatory attitude against them, being able to be more complacent about their mistreatments or justify any unbridled anger they may have towards them. The Morbid Zoo, a YouTuber I found while researching about this movie, does a great job explaining this. She did an analysis video on District 9 about the film's allegory based on anti-colonialism and the movie's subversion on the white savior trope in films around its time, such as Elysium and Avatar. Check out her video, it's in the description. But anyways, here's an excerpt of her going into detail about how this sort of systemic racism and segregation could and has occurred.
Prawns are ugly, they're intimidating, overpowered, impossible to control, an unknown quantity at best and a clear threat at worst. Prawns are a terrible thing to look at and an even more terrible thing to be. The kind of racism that leads to slavery and genocide seems so ridiculous to people who know better that it's sometimes easy to forget how many of those ideas started as legitimated science. It used to be scientific consensus that non-white people are naturally predatory, more violent, less smart, that their non-whiteness was a physical deformity, that they prefer slavery and crave direction, etc., etc.
What we have stranded on Earth in this colony is basically the workers. They don't particularly think for themselves, they will take command.
These were all justifications for institutions like apartheid, which, as a reminder, didn't end until 1994. That kind of hate and fear used to be as natural and reasonable as not wanting to live next to a prawn. For some idiots, it still is.
So, overall, while not as in-depth as other historical films and documentaries, District 9 is an entertaining sci-fi film that provides audiences a captivating deeper look into the show's themes and message about segregation and racism upon closer inspection, and yet doesn't take itself too seriously as a socio-political statement or whatever, and still maintains its integrity as an entertainment movie, making it a film enjoyable to many.